Okay, so just a few thoughts. So I'm over at the parents' grave again, and I'm just looking at the headstones close together like that, mom and dad. And in my mind, when it came over, I just went, "Hi, mom," and "Hi, dad." "Hi, mom," "Hi, dad." Obviously, like, I mean, their bodies aren't like it's not them; they're not there. But I was just thinking like that their bodies are buried together, not in the same coffin there, but they're buried in the same place, one coffin above the other, and so it's like they're buried in the same location. And it's like what's said in Christianity, like where a man and woman becomes one flesh. It's like, and that's where children come from. Children are made when a man and a woman becomes one flesh, and it doesn't just mean the sexual act. It means, that you know the other person so well, like psychically, emotionally, mentally. That's what a husband means. It's the husband, the wife. It's like taking care of horses. It's husbandry. It's called husbandry because you're basically tending to the needs of your partner, your wife, your husband. And so that was just one thing. The other thing is, I was thinking about this woman that I know in Cork, who she's very high in anxiety. Now, she's all the time trying to get different projects going and doing things and all that, but she's always very high key voice, and she's always really worried about this thing. She's always like that, and is always keyed up, and she's always on the verge of hysteria, and she's always paranoid, emotionally paranoid about somebody saying something. She's a pretty woman, like, I mean, she's in her 30s or something like that, but she's always neurotic, very high in neuroticism. And I was just thinking to myself, sorry about the wind now. The wind is kicking up here now again. I should have my little lapel mic with the little fluffy bit on it. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me okay. But anyway, yeah. A woman like that needs to submit to a good moral man. And I mean submit, like marry a man who is strong and moral. And she needs to be able to let go to him for her to flourish, for her to relax. She can't do that on her own. And I think then that became a macrocosm to me. A microcosm, I always get the two slightly confused. No, micro means small. Microcosm of the macrocosm that is the Western countries. Europe, Great Britain and Ireland, that they're failing and they're falling to the rest of the world, and an influx of mass migration simply because the men have failed morally and they've forgotten God's law. But also too in that, the microcosm of she thinking she doesn't need a man and is a sole entity on her own without the need for a man, that she can be a man and a woman in one, which is incorrect. And this seems like one little fragment of a reflection of why the West has fallen, because we all think we're individuals that don't need to depend on the people around us. And I know that sounds a very simple thing to say, depending on the people, because we've heard it so many times before, and it gets used so much that it becomes meaningless. But it's not meaningless, and it is the crux of why the West has fallen. One of the cruxes. But she needs to understand that she's not an individual identity that doesn't need other identities to become one flesh. She needs to know that she can be dependent on somebody else, that being a good, strong, moral man. But this is why the West has fallen, because the men are not strong in their morality. And she can't depend on that. And this is why she's so high in neuroticism and hysteria, because she can't relax into her femininity, because her femininity depends on strong masculinity. And that strong masculinity isn't about brute force or big muscles or anything like that. It's about adhering to God's law and being stable in that, and dependable and sober of mind. And she can't depend on that. And this is the this is the plight of the West. This is what is wrong with the West. That the men have lost their adherence to God's law, adherence to an external law, a higher power, a deity, which gives edict of that law, if I'm saying that correctly. And then they can have solidity in that morality. Then the women can adhere to them because they can trust that. They know the men will be sober of mind. And that was just the thought I had there earlier that I wanted to share with you. I hope you were able to hear that okay. It's very windy, but maybe you got most of it. I hope you did. Alright, take care. Over and out from the Irish Fury.